So, Steve, we've been discussing objections, why we get them, the sort of psychological aspects, and how we should behave when we get an objection. Now we're coming down to the specifics of the process we recommend for dealing with an objection to try to overcome those objections. We may not be able to overcome them, but I guess what we're talking about here is a sequence that helps us to maximise the chances of overcoming the problem. So why don't we just demonstrate that sequence and then perhaps just walk through the steps, explaining the rationale behind each step.
Sure.
So we were earlier on, I've already given you an objection regarding the car.
Noise of the diesel, as I recall.
That's it. Why don't we start with that one?
Okay. Jeff, one of the things you mentioned that the only real concern you had when we were talking about the option of the new car a bit earlier when we were speaking, was the feeling that there might be a bit of excess noise with the diesel-powered engine. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
And what's behind that? What specifically made you say that?
Well, they're just, a friend of mine's got a car, albeit it's a few years old, it's a diesel.
Right.
It sounds like a taxi. He often says that the neighbours comment on the fact that if he's going out early in the morning, it sometimes wakes them up. Not the noise of the engine. They think there's a taxi outside their house.
Right.
So I don't particularly want to get unpopular with my neighbours.
No, of course you don't. Okay. So if I understood you correctly, the concern is kind of once removed. It's something you've heard from a friend.
Yes.
And his car, which is an older car, makes a lot of noise, sounds like a taxi, as you said.
Yeah.
There have been occasions where it's actually woken up the neighbours because of the noise of the engine.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
I understand that correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else concerning you about the new car apart from that?
Just one little thing that I find a little bit odd in this day and age.
Right.
The warranty period is only 1 year.
Right. Okay. So, in addition to the feeling there might be a bit of excess noise with the engine, you're a bit surprised at the length of the warranty, as in 12 months.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else on your mind? Anything else that I should know about? Any other concerns?
No, I mean, based on our conversation so far, that's the two things that popped into my mind as being, potential barriers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would it be fair to say that if we can allay your concerns about those two issues, not promising a magic wand, but if we can sort of allay those, you would be in a position to progress this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's the two things that have popped out as being, everything else has been, I've been quite kind of enthusiastic and excited by it.
Okay.
In terms of what the functions the car has, and the fuel savings, all those things.
Right.
But those are the two things that I think I need to, in my own mind, be straight about them.
Right. Okay. Out of role play here, I would now offer a plausible response to both of those objections.
Yes.
Back in role play now, Jeff, how did that sound? So there's a kind of qualified, substantiated response to those two concerns.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
Yeah, that's really cleared up those 2 points for me, Steve. I didn't realise that the new modern engines actually were 5 times as quiet as the older ones,
much quieter.
Which is fantastic news, given the other benefits of the diesel engine. So I'm happy with that, and the point you make about the warranty, and the fact that it is renewable,
Yeah.
a relatively low cost, that sorts that one out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, that's good. Well, perhaps we can now organise the paperwork so that we can ensure that you get the car in the time frame that you mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
The next sort of 4 or 5 weeks was your sort of
Yeah.
time frame you're interested
Yeah.
in.
Okay, let's get the paperwork done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Steve, that seemed to run quite smoothly and naturally.
Yeah.
I guess we should mention at this point that when it comes to answering the objections themselves, you've got to have some credible responses, and to demonstrate the sequence, we left that part out to keep it straightforward.
Yes.
And I know we'll come to the idea of how we perhaps anticipate some of the objections in advance in a few minutes. But could you just kind of explain each of the steps that you consciously went through?
Sure.
And what the rationale is behind each of those?
By all means, yeah.
Yeah.
And we, in that particular example, we went back to, almost in a summary fashion, something that you had already expressed.
Yes.
It could be that at this point you express it for the first time.
Yes.
In our example just now,
Yeah.
we revisited something I parked during the conversation earlier, if you recall. So my first responsibility is to listen very carefully to what you're saying, how you're saying it, get some feel for the gravity of it.
Yes.
In this example, I picked it up earlier in the conversation because we parked it.
Yes.
And I knew what I had to come back to.
Yes.
If you were expressing this now for the first time,
Yes.
I would be listening very carefully to
Yes.
how you described it.
Yes.
I'd be listening for the level of feeling. Is it light-hearted? Is it a massive hang-up? So try and get some feel for the gravity.
Yeah.
It's also important at the same stage, not just to be taking it seriously as I hope I was in that role play,
Yeah.
but also to be seen to be taking it seriously. So we want our customer to get the distinct impression that this is probably the most important thing that day, if not that week, that you're going to be taking consideration of and taking seriously.
Yeah.
So you want to give every indication to your customer that this is something you're taking seriously.
Yeah.
Even if you've heard it from 6 other customers that day.
Yeah. Which you may have done, of course.
Yeah. For those reasons. It's to do with the impression you give.
Yes. I noticed you were making notes as well.
Same thing. Make sure I understood it correctly. Give you the impression that I'm taking it on board and thinking about it. And that's quite genuine.
Yeah.
I should, and I was.
And I suppose that gives you a chance to listen, and there's some silence,
Yes.
which kind of enables the customer to keep on talking.
Yes.
And sometimes customers talk themselves out of their own objection, don't they?
Does happen.
Just at that stage, actually, that's not an issue, come to think of
It
it.
does happen, doesn't it?
But anyway, so that was the first thing you did.
Bought a bit of time as well, writing, thinking.
Yeah. And it was kind of it stopped you from sort of jumping in and being defensive.
Yep. Which we don't want to do.
No.
The next thing is to get you talking about it.
Yeah.
Quite probably playing it back in summary fashion as well.
Yeah.
I refer back to my notes to
Yeah.
do that, of course.
Yeah.
So for similar reasons, time, empathy, the giving the correct impression that you're taking your customer's concern seriously.
Yeah.
So I get you talking about it, and maybe even between us, as we did there,
Yeah.
we summarise it.
Yes.
At that point, and this is something, it's not a complicated thing, but people often don't do this. We need to check there's nothing else on the customer's mind.
Right.
We ask if there's anything else, which you'll recall is what I did.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because if somebody has something else on their mind, as in this instance you did,
Yeah.
it's quite possible that when you're responding to the first objection, they'll be thinking about the other one.
Right.
So you'll be losing their attention.
Yeah.
So it is actually important to get an understanding of anything else that's on their
Sort
mind.
of bring it out. And it's like we were talking about earlier, the hidden objection.
Yeah.
Some of those might come out.
Yeah, maybe.
At that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
After that, and it's funny because this is the only place in the sale that we're comfortable with the principle, we tested commitment. So in the old days, that would have sometimes been called a trial close.
Yeah.
If I can do this, would you?
Yes.
And in every other element of the sale, we really do believe that isn't necessary. If you're doing your job properly, in the way that we're advocating in these video bites, if you like, we think that's too obvious and unnecessary, and indeed probably counterproductive.
Yeah.
You've done the rest of the pieces of a consultative sell effectively. It isn't necessary to pre-close somebody.
But at this stage, whereby you've had a good conversation, you've understood needs and wants in a very precise way, you've matched your solution in a very precise way to the needs and wants. This is kind of just those small areas of mismatch where you're just trying to get that final bit of commitment.
Yeah.
So thus the technique that you use of testing that commitment is very valid at this stage.
Yes, because you can't really escape it.
No.
If you don't get an affirmative answer to the question, if we're able to allay your concerns on those two issues, which I've noted and I understand, will we be in a position to progress this?
And what if I say no?
Obviously, there's something else concerning you.
All right.
So there's something in there that you're not levelling with me about. And it's going to block the sale.
So then what would you do?
I need to understand what that is.
Right.
I need to get you to talk about it. So if you're not in a position to move forward, there must be another reason for that hasn't come up in the conversation so far.
Right.
What's that?
Yeah.
That typically would be the way you would approach it.
Yeah.
Because as sure as night follows day, there's something down there in the iceberg that you haven't flushed out.
So you kind of go back to step one again and try to understand it.
You've got to understand it, or it won't go any further.
Okay.
The very fact it's not a yes tells you there's something blocking it.
Yeah.
And you need to understand what that is. At that point, and really only at that point, are you in a position to respond to the objections?
Yeah.
Or in this case, objections, because there were two, or objection, because it's just one.
Yeah.
And at that point, you need the best possible answer or answers to the objection or objections that you've just made a note of and have heard about.
Yeah.
And we teams of people that we work with, we encourage people to get together and share their most common objections and their best possible answers as a team, so they can find best practice.
Oh, I see. So it's as if the objections that come up, most of them are ones that come up again and again.
They do, don't they?
And then working out the best practice answers around them.
Yeah. So if you take our salesman in that role play, he would have heard those two objections a number of times before.
Yeah, I bet, with the diesel engines and warranty periods.
Bound to be. So therefore, his challenge is to find the most plausible response to each of those objections. We actually call the collection of the most common objections and the best possible responses, we call that an objection bank.
Okay.
So you need to build your objection bank.
Yeah. Okay.
And then at that point, when you've answered the objections, you need to check that your customer is happy with the responses.
Yeah.
Or in this case, responses or response.
Yeah.
And then agree what the way forward is after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed you didn't kind of do any attempt to sort of close that last step. Why was that?
Because I was going to. We stopped at the end of the objection handling sequence.
Yeah, so it's almost as if you have you're just confirming the way ahead because of the pre-close, the trial close that you mentioned.
Yeah, because I'm going to, but not in any heavy-handed or obvious fashion.
No.
So we're ready to do it now.
Yeah, it's very assumptive at that point then, because I've already said I've only got two things preventing me from going ahead.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the answers you've given me.
Yes.
So it's implied that we're going to go ahead.
Yeah.
So there's no need to kind of, as it were, ask for the order.
At the end, I as good as did when I started to talk about organising the paperwork.
Yeah.
And the next step would be to whatever that action is.
Yeah.
So it could be a cheque, deposit, It
Yeah.
could be to do with finance,
Yeah.
the sum of money that's associated with the finance deal,
Yes.
complete the paperwork that goes with it,
Yeah.
agree a delivery date,
Yes.
maybe one or two fine details around the options with the car,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I was poised to do that when we stopped.
When we stop. Okay. Thanks very much, Steve.